Well, it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Love someone who never did love you. It's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Great God, love someone who never will be true. There is a house in this old town where my true love hangs around. Takes other women right down on his knee, and it tells them little lies he won't tell me. Well, it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Love someone who never did love you. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Great God, love someone who never will be true. First time I saw my true love was walking by my door. Next time I saw his false-hearted smile, he was lying cold and dead on my floor. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Love someone who never did love you. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Great God, love someone who never will be true. Well, who's gonna kiss your ruby lips? Who's gonna hold you to their breast? Who will talk your future over while I'm out rambling in the west? And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Love someone that never will love you. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Great God, love someone who never will be true. Well, don't go out drinking and gambling, going there your sorrows to drown. That hard liquor place, it's a low-down disgrace, meanest old place in this town. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Love someone who never did love you. And it's hard, ain't it hard, ain't it hard? Great God, love someone who never will be true. Love someone who never will be true. Brian Melick, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Melick. Playing that folk music, busting right out of the gate, aren't we tonight, Brian? Busting right out.
That's it, right there.
I love it. Brian, what are you playing? You're playing the Hobo drum kit, aren't you?
I am playing a Hobo drum kit, Michael. I love this drum set. It's a suitcase, a soup pot, some of my favorite soups, and a jewelry box. And, well, I have to I have to look to you for this. This was a beautiful gift from Michael.
It's not a Jiffy popcorn maker. It's a Jimbish ukulele body.
Say it again?
Jimbish. C-U-M-B-U-S. Jimbish.
Jimbish.
Yes.
Ukulele.
Body.
And then, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. I got this cool thing down here. Something that we all should carry with us. It's a bedpan. And my dear friend Michael gave me that as well. So you're kind of instigating this.
I am. I'm an enabler if there ever was one. So what we do in Can Alley is we play music from the great folk scare, essentially of the 1940s in Greenwich Village in New York City. We bounce around some other places as well, because folk music always bounced around. But in many ways, this music is the roots of where Caffe Lena came from. That song we just did was originally on a record called Sodbuster Ballads by the Almanac Singers in 1941. You got Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger are both in the Almanacs, a bunch with some other cool folks. We're going to fast forward 20 years to 1961 now, maybe 1962, depending on the calendar. To Bob Dylan's very first record. Bob Dylan played here before he got signed to Columbia Records. And on his first record, even though he's recognized as our great American songwriter, he'll be 80 later this year. On his first record, he only did 2 original songs. And one of them was this song we're going to do now called Song to Woody. Woody, of course, is Woody Guthrie. And he said in the notes to that Woody was his first idol and last idol. So this is a song called Song to Woody. He mentioned Cisco Houston and Leadbelly and some of the other greats from that scene as well. So I'm out here 1,000 miles from my home, walking a road where the men have gone down. and I'm seeing your world of people and things. Your paupers and peasants, princes and kings. Hey, 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 Woody Guthrie, I wrote you a song about a funny old world that's coming along. It seems sick and tired, it's tired and it's torn. It looks like it's dying, and it's hardly been born. Hey, 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 Woody Guthrie, I know that you know all the things that I'm saying and many times more. I'm singing you this song 'cause I can't sing enough. 'Cause there's not many men who've done the things that you've done. Here's to Cisco and Sonny and Leadbelly too. All the good people who traveled with you. Here's to the hearts and the hands of the men that come where the dust leave on the wind. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I couldn't leave today. Somewhere down the road some way. And the very last thing that I'd like to do is to say I've been hitting some hard traveling too. Hey, 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 Woody Guthrie, I wrote you a song about a funny old world that's coming along. And I'm singing you this song 'cause I can't sing enough. 'Cause there's not many men who've done the things that you've done. Hey, hey, Woody Guthrie. Thank you so much. Song to Woody from Bob Dylan's very first record. Certainly Greenwich Village, New York City music there, even if we're stretching a little beyond the original time frame of the 1940s. You're going to be hearing plenty of music from Woodrow Wilson Guthrie this evening, born in 1912 in Okemah, Oklahoma. He made his way to New York and wrote a lot of his greatest songs there. This is actually one he wrote in between when he was in California in 1937. He got politicized in many ways by folks like Will Geer and Cisco Houston, who's mentioned in that last song, the actor Will Geer. Took him around to some of the California labor camps. And then when Will Geer moved to New York, when Woody first landed there in 1940, when Brian and I were here in February, we did a show about, as Reese mentioned, for kids with a lot of Woody's music, and a lot of that was from when he first landed in New York. He landed in New York, I think it was 59th Street, if I'm not mistaken, in a hotel with Will and Herta Geer. And he drove him crazy enough that he left a few days, within a week or two later, and when he left, he took Herta's Martin guitar with him, because that's what Woody Guthrie does. So this is a song from 1937 in the work camps from California. It's called I Ain't Got No Home. I ain't got no home, I'm just rambling around. Just a wandering worker, I go from town to town. Police make it hard, but everywhere I go, I ain't got no home in this world anymore. My brothers and sisters stranded on this road, hot and dusty road that 1,000,000 feet have trod. Rich man took my home, drove me from my door. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. I was farming on the sheds and I was always poor. My crops I laid into the banker's store. My wife took down and died on the cabin floor. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. My mind in your minds, I gathered in your call. I've been working, mister, since the day that I was born. Now I worry all the time like I never did before. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. As I look around, it's mighty plain to see. This world is such a great and a strange place to be. The gambling man is rich and the working man is poor. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Let's say that again. As I look around, it's mighty plain to see. The world is such a great and funny place to be. The gambling man is rich, and the working man he's poor. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Thank you. The gambling man is rich, and the working man is poor. This next one is a song called Empty Pocket Blues. It was written by Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes, and the Weavers did it real early on. And Pete added the jazzy parts, Lee added the bluesy parts, but this is a great song, and it's about not having a whole lot of jingle in your pockets. How you doing on the jingly pockets these days, Brian?
I got no jingle in my pockets.
I got no jingle in my pockets. My pockets ain't going jingling-a-ling. The Empty Pocket Blues. Never had a barrel of money, never had a ruby ring. All I ever had was you, babe. Sit and listen to me sing. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. Never had a barrel of money, never had a big Cadillac. All I ever had was you, babe, and that's a natural fact. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. Money, money, money will make the grade. I'm so broke that a dollar bill, it looks like a window shade. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. Brian. Some say the blues are sorrowful, say the blues are sad. When I sing the blues to you, they come out feeling glad. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. Now some got barrels of money, bushels of ruby red rings. Ain't got a guy like mine and they don't know how to sing. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. Money, money, money will make the grade. I'm so broke that a dollar bill, it looks like a window shade. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got those blues, empty pocket blues. I got Brian Melick.
On the jury box.
Brian Melick doing that thing he does. Not a single one of us is sure of what that thing he does is, but he's doing that thing he does. He's done it here with the McCrells. He was recently here with Joel Brown and Dave Maswick. He's going to be here tomorrow night. Oh, folks, you got to tune in tomorrow night to caffelena.org. You can look at caffelena.org/tips right now if you want, but you got to tune in tomorrow to caffelena.org because Brian's going to be here with Gulfstrom, and they're just a magical, magical group. European pop music from the 1930s. They're going back even further than I do.
We have a new polka.
Oh, I like it, a new polka. So Woody Guthrie traveled with Pete Seeger a lot in the 1940s. They did some cross-country trips in the back of a car and stuff. And they did a song that was an old folk song, Greenback Dollar. I don't want your greenback dollar. But it had been rewritten by the Union songwriter Jim Garland, who was related to Aunt Molly Jackson. And he rewrote it as, I don't want your millions, mister. And Woody would ride in the back of the car with Pete, and sometimes he'd look up at Pete and go, I do want your millions. So. Woody Guthrie, at one point, was living in Gravesend, Brooklyn, and he later lived on Coney Island. This was in between. And when we sing these songs about the New York landlords and the I don't want your millions, mister, it's always assistive. English major here, if that's a word. It's assistive to think about the fact that at one point in time in Gravesend, Woody's landlord was a gentleman named Fred Trump, father of one Wednesday. Wednesday, baby. I don't want your millions, mister. I don't want your diamond ring. All I want is the right to live, mister. Give me back my job again. Now I don't want your Rolls Royce, mister. I don't want your pleasure yacht. All I want is food for my babies. Give to me my old job back. We'll work to build this country, mister, while you enjoy a life of ease, taking all that we built, mister. Now our children starve and freeze. I don't want your millions, mister. I don't want your diamond ring. All I want is the right to live, mister. Give me back my job again. Think me dumb if you wish, mister. Call me green, or blue, or red. One thing I sure know, mister. My hungry babies must be fed. Take the two old parties, mister. No difference in them I see. But with a working family's party, we could set the people free. I don't want your millions, mister. I don't want your diamond ring. All I want is the right to live, mister. Give me back my job again. Give me back my job again. Thank you. I don't want your millions, mister. I do, though, Brian.
I know.
I want them. Do you want some of them?
I'm feeling it.
I bet you do. So this is, in case you hadn't noticed, this is folk music we're singing. So even though we might be separated by distance, we can still all be together. And I think if you want to sing along at home on the folk songs, that would be a grand thing to do. Reese mentioned that you might be enjoying a favorite beverage, adult or otherwise. I always thought that was a stupid phrase, adult beverages. But whatever kind of beverage you're enjoying, wet your whistle and sing along with folk music from the 1940s.
Especially this one.
Especially this one.
This one's
So this one, we're saying folk music from the 1940s. This one's probably not really a folk song. This is a cabaret song, a New York City song. You could call this one a Tin Pan Alley song. We're Tin Can Alley playing a Tin Can Alley song. And it was written for Caffe Society, a beautiful club up in Harlem, and a great musician who's not remembered anywhere near as well as he should be, Josh White. Elijah Wald, who wrote the book Mayor of McDougal Street, along with Dave Van Ronk, who was such a mainstay here at the cafe. Elijah also wrote a book about Josh White. And Josh White was just a great performer, great guitar player, singer, was a blues man, and then became kind of a pop sophisticate in some ways later in his career. And when that happened, so many people just discounted him because they thought it wasn't true to what he was, because he wasn't a blues man. But we know now that the blues men, Robert Johnson, people like that, Josh White, they played all kinds of songs. It was the recording company executives who said, well, we just want to record your blues, but they played all kinds of music. And so this was a great tune that Josh White did that has since become considered pretty much sort of a folk song. And what we're going to do for this one on the Hobo drum kit, let me make sure I'm tuned, sir. On the Hobo drum kit, Brian's going to introduce this song for us. He's going to walk us into it. Hit me. Little man walked up and down, found a meeting place in town, read the menu through and through to see what 15 cents could do. One meatball, they could afford but one meatball. Told the waiter near at hand, special dinner he had planned. Guess we startled one and all. I hate that waiter loudly called. One meatball, this here gent wants one meatball. Right. Little man felt ill at ease. Said some bread, sir, if you please. Way to holler down the hall. I got no bread with one meatball. One meatball. One meatball. You get snow bread with one meatball. Hit me. Hit me again. Little man felt very sad. One meatball was all he had. In his dreams, his echo. You get snow bread with one meatball. One meatball. One meatball. You get snow bread with one meatball. One meatball. One meatball. You get snow bread with one meatball. Brian Melick, ladies and gentlemen. That's crazy stuff. He needs more drums.
I need another
He
one.
needs-
I got a hole right here. I need to get a big old tomato.
He needs another can of soup or something. So if you want to visit caffelena.org/tips, now might be a good time. How tacky was that,
Yeah,
Brian?
you know, I mean, hey, you know, you can buy a can of soup now.
Ooh, I'm excited about this one. My other hero these days, believe it or not, I'm embarrassed to admit this, is Marie Kondo. I'm listening to Joy at Work on the way up here today. She's the decluttering expert. And so I've gone from, Brian came by the other day, I've sold thousands of CDs and have been using that money to buy hundreds of guitars. That's okay, but getting rid of the CDs, getting rid of the vinyl. I've gone from 18 shelves of books to 4 shelves of books. Donated a lot of folk music books here to the cafe, but I actually even somehow, to my own surprise, I've reduced the size of my Woody Guthrie bookshelf by listening to Marie Kondo's good advice. And I thought I don't need 3 copies of that one. I can only read one of them and stuff. But so the Woody Guthrie shelf has gotten a little smaller, but I am still remain fascinated with Mr. Woodrow and Guthrie. This next tune, his daughter Nora, long after he passed, she found a whole bunch of lyrics that he'd written. When he got later in life, his health situation was really not amazing. He had burned his arm in a fire. He had Huntington's disease. He wasn't able to play guitar anymore, but his brain was still totally active. There was a history of bad fires in the family, so we won't say his brain was on fire, but his brain was active. And he wrote all these amazing lyrics. And she started taking these lyrics and offering them to contemporary artists and having them write songs, music to these lyrics. And this particular one, This Morning I Am Born Again, is hands down my favorite ever Woody Guthrie lyric. And it was set to music by a gentleman in Austin who's played the cafe before named Slade Cleaves. Slade's version was too good for me to figure out because I'm kind of ham-fisted on the guitar. So I made my own version, and I will fess up to saying that this is the folk process in action, whereby you take a song written by somebody and then somebody else and kind of twist it around to your own preferences and situations. So, Brian, This Morning I Am Born Again. This morning I am born again, and a light shines on my land. No longer look for heaven in your deathly distant land. Do not want your pearly gates, I don't want your streets of gold. This morning I was born again, and a light shines in my soul. This morning I was born again, I was born again complete. I stood above my troubles and I stood on my 2 feet. My hand, it feels unlimited, my body feels like the sky. Feel at home in the universe where yonder planets fly. This morning I was born again, my past, it's dead and gone. This great eternal moment is my great eternal dawn. Each drop of blood within me, each breath of life I breathe, is united with these mountains, and these mountains with the sea. Feel the sun upon my face, its rays crawl through my skin. Blood of Jesus and old John Henry in. I give myself, my heart, my soul, soul to lend a hand. This morning I was born again, I am in the promised land. This morning I was born again, and the light shines on my land. No longer look for heaven in your deathly distant land. I do not want your pearly gates, I don't want your streets of gold. Do not want your mansions, 'cause my heart is never cold. This morning I was born again. Woody Guthrie. I have all these accoutrements with me that I have to be juggling around and touching this and touching that and figuring out what's what. We're Tin Can Alley. This is sort of a tin can right here. This is a resonator guitar. It's got a metal speaker cone in there. It's just driven by the power of the strings and the guitar. It's a tin can thing. You got a Hobo drum kit. I got a tin can guitar. This is one that Woody stole all his melodies. He was very good at that. He stole this one from the old hillbilly cowboy song, Jesse James. Jesus Christ was a man who traveled this old land, hard-working man and brave. He said to the rich, give your money to the poor. He laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Jesus Christ was a man, a carpenter by hand. Followers were true and they were brave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot has laid Jesus Christ in his grave. He went to the preacher, he went to the sheriff, told them all the same. Take all of your jewelry and give it to the poor. they laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Jesus Christ was a man, a carpenter by hand. Followers were true and they were brave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot has laid Jesus Christ in his grave. When Jesus came to town, all the working folks around believed what he did say. But the bankers and the preachers, they nailed him on the cross, laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Jesus Christ was a man, a carpenter by hand. Followers were true and they were brave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot has laid Jesus Christ in his grave. All the people held their breath when they heard about his death. Everybody wondered why. Was the big landlords and the soldiers that they hired to lay Jesus Christ in the sky? Jesus Christ was a man, a carpenter by hand. Followers were true and they were brave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot has laid Jesus Christ in his grave. This song, it was written in New York City. Rich man, preacher, and slave. If Jesus was to preach what he preached in Galilee, they'd lay Jesus Christ in his grave. Jesus Christ was a man, a carpenter by hand. Followers were true and they were brave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot has laid Jesus Christ in his grave. One dirty little coward named Judas Iscariot laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Hey! Alrighty then. This song, it was written in New York City. I mentioned before, Brian and I last played here in February. I think it was the 23rd. It was the actual 80th anniversary of Woody writing This Land Is Your Land in 1940 at Hanover House. We're already a year past that. It's been a crazy year. It really has been a crazy year. But one of the things that's made me realize is just how much I miss and how important New York City is to me. On the various trips I've gone down. So in the 90s and in the 2000s, I was playing in New York City about every 4 or 5 weeks at these little coffee houses and little bars throughout the East Village. And so for a good number of years, I was never above 14th Street, but I was down there an awful lot. Earlier than that, in my young days, I'd gone down for punk rock shows and CBGB and all that stuff. So I had a pretty good relationship with the city. And then probably about 8 years ago now, I started working in theater. I'm no longer working in theater. I work in the guitar industry now, which is just terrifically exciting for a geek like me who loves all these guitars. But while I was working in theater, I got to go down to New York a lot for work. And I also went to Broadway an awful lot. I'd been a theater critic for 20 years and embarrassingly had managed to have never gone to Broadway during that time. But during the 8 years, the past 8 years, 7 of which I was working in theater, I went down to Broadway an awfully lot. I lost a ticket to see Hadestown for the 5th time because of the pandemic. And the day before we played here, as I mentioned, I was seeing where Woody Guthrie had written that, and I went down to see the Bob Dylan musical. And I think, not sure about this, I think I might have caught the Rona when I was down there. My doctor kind of thinks I did. I didn't have the chest stuff, but I had all kinds of other badness, and I was on my back for 2 weeks and was really genuinely concerned that I might not come home. It was kind of a scary thing. But given all of that stuff, it just breaks my heart that I can't go to New York City, and it breaks my heart for all the people in New York City and for all of the people in entertainment, the good folks here doing sound and doing the social media and the video, Sarah Craig, who books the venue, that we all love to be in so much right here at Caffe Lena. And it's beautiful to be here without a crowd because we know that you're home watching and helping support the cafe and the musicians who play here. But wouldn't it be nice if we could all be in the same room together? And wouldn't it be nice if those of us who love New York City could go to New York City? So what I'd like to do now is read something that Woody wrote back in the 40s when he was living there. I'm the town called New York. I was struck by the winds. I've been frozen and been blistered and then struck again. I was struck by my rich folks and struck by my bums, struck by my mansions and struck by my slums. I was hit with disease, with trouble, pain. I've seen my kids die under car wheels and trains. I smelled the smoke roll when it come from some hole where a cigarette spark killed 1,000 good souls. I'm the town called New York. I'm a brick on a brick, 100 folks running and 10 dying sick. I'm a saint, a bum, a whore, and her pimp. Your ocean's the mirror I look in to primp. I'm a sewer pipe and a steam cloud, and a little girl fell down. My lights shine thrice brightest when my nightgown comes down. I'm vulgar, I'm legal, illegal, and wild. I'm the Hudson and East Rivers, one lost, lonesome child. I'm a stone on a stone, a rock on a rock, and I comb my hairs back with those ships in their docks. 10 million wild notions are fighting in me to speak a little plainer, to try to agree. I read mountains of books every day, but I'm frisky. I wash down my brain cells with 100-proof whiskey. I work and I slave and I bless and I abuse and I waste twice as much as I ever could use. I'm the town called New York with all my color and paint, and I curse and I run and I hide and I faint. I juice my blood full of every known dope. I'm the world's biggest howler of nice friendly hope. I've been here so long that the weeds is forgot, and I intend to stand right here till I rot. I'll see if my bad habits can ever tear down more than my good ones can build up around. I come here to look for a nice standing place, to make a scientific test of the whole human race. I'm going to try every earthly mistake and see if your hands can fix me back straight. I might boil and blow and shake to the ground and smoke and tremble and blaze all around. This was written in the 1940s, 9/11. I might boil and blow and shake to the ground and smoke and tremble and blaze all around. And no matter how low or how high I might fall, just remember, New York is the name I am called. So let's follow up some seriousness with some silliness. What do you think about some silliness
I'm
there?
into silliness.
All right, so hang on a second before we start the silliness.
Very excited.
Brian has some fun stuff. I've got some fun stuff. Brian told you a little bit about the Hobo drum kit. He's going to tell you more in just a second. I have a beautiful octave mandolin, or a bouzouki here. It's actually made by the company I work for now. I work in guitars instead of theater now, and this is made by the company I work for. I got a resonator guitar, the tin can one I showed you. My ukulele's also got a little tin can on the front. You got a little tin can on your stuff? You got 3 or 4 tin cans. And this here is a mandolin. The only thing that makes this mandolin special is that this year is its 100th birthday. Happy birthday, mandolin. Woo! It's a Gibson mandolin from 1921. I have it strung in a strange way for this song, Brian. Let's hope it's in tune because it's a little sketchy. Seems like it should be okay. I have it strung in what the great Howard Armstrong played here once with Martin, Bogan, and Armstrong. He was one of the great string band musicians, played violin and mandolin and guitar and all kinds of stuff. And Carl Martin used this same tuning. Howard Armstrong called it the mosquito tuning because it was so high it even drove insects away. I like to call it the stinger tuning. But what it is it's strung like a 12-string guitar with octave strings on the low string. So you get a little chimey pinginess, right?
I like
You know what I'm
that.
talking about?
Yeah.
And so besides being 100 years old, you know what else makes this mandolin special?
What's it?
Right there. Pete Seeger, ladies and gentlemen. Pete Seeger, right there. So you can touch it. Now you need hand sanitizer, though. Brian has in his hands. May I steal your thunder for 1 second?
No, please, because you know that.
Brian is holding a limberjack. Yeah, baby, a lovely old folk instrument. That was a gift to me from my good buddy Meg Peters down in Salt Lake City at Acoustic Music SLC, and I have re-gifted it, because I think that's legal, to my favorite world's greatest percussionist,
You're
Brian
very
Melick.
sweet. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Michael.
And so now we're going to do a little instrumental that Woody wrote. Woody never played it, but Pete played it with the Weavers at Carnegie Hall, because that wraps us back into this whole 1940s folk music. Do I seem like I'm on speed tonight? I feel like I visited a meth lab on the way here or something, which is not my style at all. What are you putting in the water here at Caffe Lena? That's my question right there. So Brian's going to play the limberjack. I'm going to play the mandolin, and oh my gosh, let's see what happens.
And I just
here.
hope I don't get. I'm gonna. My disclaimer. I'm very excited.
I could barely get through this one in sound check because Brian's making me laugh too much. So I blame anything that happens. Any skid marks are blamed on Brian. D and a half chord. Brian with his debut on the limberjack, and evidently Michael with his debut on the mandolin. Woo! I love it. The limberjack's a hit. So tomorrow night, tune in to caffelena.org to see Brian doing an entire set of European folk music from the 1930s on the limberjack.
Yeah, and don't tell Goldstrom, because they won't know.
Don't tell Goldstrom because they won't let him in the door.
Thank you, Meg. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Meg. That's fun. Get the big old octave mandolin back out. You're a silly person. Back to 1937, back to California. Wait, I thought you were playing music from the 1940s from Greenwich Village, and now you're going back to California in 1937. Well, that's too bad for you. I'm in the driver's chair. This is another one from Woody Guthrie. It's called Do Re Mi. Lots of folks back east, they say, is leaving home every day, hitting the hot old dusty way to the California line. Across the desert sands they roll, getting out of that old dust bowl. They think they're going to a sugar bowl. This is what they find. Police at the port of entry say, number 14,000 for today. If you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. California is a garden of Eden, paradise to live in or to see. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Wanna buy a home or farm that can't do nobody harm? Take your vacation by the mountains or the sea. Don't trade your old cow for a car. You better stay right where you are. You better take a little tip from me. 'Cause I read through the wanted ads every day, Headlines in the papers always say, if you ain't got the do-re-mi, boys, you ain't got the do-re-mi. Better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. California, it's a garden of Eden, paradise to live in or to see. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. California is a garden of Eden, paradise to live in or to see. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re-mi. Yeah! I'd like to thank Joe and Reese and Joel for being here tonight. The fact that we've been able to, yes, indeed. The fact that we've been able to survive this pandemic under the leadership of Sarah Craig and survive as an arts organization is testament to the spirit that's been in this room since May of 1960. And when I say survive, I use that term advisedly. Get by, scratch by, eke it out might be more like it. So it's important for you to know that while the tips are helping musicians who have just been stricken during this situation by not being able to perform. And I don't mean that in an emotional way. I mean that in a nuts and bolts, they can't feed their kids, they can't pay their insurance kind of way. And so the tips helping the musicians survive are a miracle. And half of the tips also go to the cafe itself and help the cafe continue to do the incredible work it's doing in the community. And as well, you know, when we can all come back, the cafe will be here because of your work as well. So we appreciate that very much. Long live Caffe Lena. So the Midnight Special. Do you know what the Midnight Special was, Brian? Do you personally?
A train?
It was a train, but it was the light on the train. And so when he says, let the Midnight Special shine its light on me, there was a belief that if that train light shined on you as it was rounding the bend, that you'd get out of jail. You know, not in a monopoly way, but like it was a good sign that, you know, things were going to get better for you. Now, when I say get better for you, I mean that in sort of a generic royal we kind of way. Not you. Oh. Things aren't going to be any better for you. You're staying in there a long time. You're staying in Hobo drum kit jail for a long time. When you wake up in the morning, hear the ding dong ring. You go marching to the table. You see the same old thing. Brian, my brother Billy tells me, I don't know if this is true, but I want to believe it, that this was the first song I sang by myself all the way through.
Well, then I'm going to sit here and just...
No, but I just think it's cool. This song's been a part of my life for a long time. Knife and fork are on the table. There ain't nothing in the pan. Say anything about it, you're in trouble with the man. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a river loving light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a river loving light on me. If you ever go to Houston, boy, you better walk right. You better not stagger, and you better not fight, 'cause the sheriff will arrest you. Judge will send you down. Jury find you guilty. You're sugar land bound. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a river loving light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a river loving light on me. On the come on, Miss Rosie. In the world do you know about apron and the dress she wore, umbrella on her shoulder, piece of paper in her hand, going to the governor, turn loose my man. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a river loving light on me. Let the Midnight Special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special trying to rev a loving light on me. Don't believe that Rosie loves me. Oh, won't you tell me why? Ain't been to see me since last July. Well, she bought me a little coffee, she bought me a little tea, bought me damn near everything but the jailhouse key. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a rev a loving light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a rev a loving light on me. Hey now, the midnight special, Mr. Leadbelly, Hudie Ledbetter. So Brian, I got a little misty there talking about my favorite New York City. I don't know, 3 years back maybe, I had lunch. This was on the same day. It was so cool. I had lunch in Pete Seeger's old backyard, which is now an Italian restaurant, Pete and Toshi's backyard. So I had some nice pizza there. Then I took a walk and I strolled past the original Almanac House, which is where the Almanac singers first gathered. There was 3 or 4 different Almanac houses, but this was the first one. And then I kept moving on down. I went past the old neighborhood that I used to play in New York City all the time. You know, when I was down there playing solo, I played this place called The Fort at Sidewalk Cafe. And that was my mainstay in New York. It was just around from Tompkins Square Park. So I walked down to Tompkins Square Park, hung a right down 10th Street, and walked down. And all those years that I'd been playing there, like every 4 or 5 weeks, I never quite realized how close I was. But I've been doing more research, and I walked down, and I got to hang out in front. I didn't get to go inside, but I got to hang out in front of Leadbelly's building. And that was awesome. I felt a little bit of the power there. And right before I left, I was looking at it, I was taking pictures, and all of a sudden I realized, oh, there's even a plaque there that says it's Leadbelly's house. So I was like, oh, I am at the right spot. I was concerned about that.
You should host some tours down there, Mike.
I probably should. I should probably do a Greenwich Village folk music tour. In these environs, I tend to send this song out to Captain Fun, Al McKinney.
Yeah, Uncle Al.
In purple, Uncle Al. Brian and I love the man. Everybody up here at the cafe loves the man. We lost him a number of years ago. But a little different flavor for the song tonight. I mentioned that I work in the guitar industry now. It's super exciting for me, but I've been playing guitar for a long time, and I haunt all the guitar stores because you got to do that. And this week, Saratoga lost an incredible friend in Matt McCabe. All of us musicians knew him from Saratoga Guitar, but he also worked for the city for a while. And this man was generosity personified. And since we're sitting here at the cafe, we can't even measure all the things Matt McCabe did for Caffe Lena. And in the memorials for him online and in the newspaper, the kind of funny thing that a bunch of people said, here's a guy trying to make a living, running a guitar store, and everybody said he gave away more guitars than he ever sold.
I understand.
Kid needed to play and couldn't afford it. Matt was going to make sure that kid played music. A local arts organization needed some money. Matt was going to give him a guitar to raise money. He was a good man. February 20th, on this channel, on CaffeLena.org, there's going to be a beautiful tribute to Matt that's being arranged by the folks here, and also Matt's dear, dear friend, Rick Bolton, who does Rick Picks here on Mondays. Rick's just such a great force in Saratoga himself, and they made a lot of music together and had a long friendship. And so this song tonight goes out to Matt McCabe and all the people he touched. Go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming? That's a hobo's lullaby. I know your clothes are torn and ragged, and your hair, it's turning gray. You just smile and laugh at the trouble. You'll find peace and rest someday. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming, humming? That's a hobo's lullaby. But don't you worry about tomorrow. You let tomorrow come and go. Tonight you're in a nice warm boxcar, safe from all the wind and snow. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming? That's a hobo's lullaby. I know the police cause you trouble, cause trouble everywhere. But when you die and go to heaven, you will find no police there. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming, humming, humming? And that's a hobo's lullaby, humming. That's a hobo's lullaby, humming, humming. Matt McCabe. Brian. Thank you, sir. Brian and I will be doing a number at that tribute for Matt McCabe, and we're very, very pleased to be asked. He's going to be missed. I'm going to miss Matt McCabe. Want to do that romping song that we like so much?
Yes.
Let's do that romping one that we like so much. I mentioned Dave Van Ronk before. Dave Van Ronk's like a hero to me. So being a musician and being a writer for a living, if I had a gig, I would play the gig. If I had a review to do, I would go write the review, because that's how I made my meager living at the time. And so I'd managed somehow to have not seen Dave Van Ronk live. I don't know how that happened. Finally, one night, the timing worked out. I'd even interviewed him on the phone, but I hadn't seen him live yet. And the timing worked out that I was able to go see him. And after I saw him for the first time here at the Caffe Lena, I got to open for him a couple times later on at different places. But after I saw him for the first time, whether I had a gig or a review, Brian and I were discussing the other day, as a musician, you don't blow off a gig. You book a gig, you do the gig.
Absolutely.
There was one exception for me, Brian, and it was hard. It was a hard exception. If Dave Van Ronk got announced in town and I had a gig booked, I canceled the gig. I went to see Dave Van Ronk every time I could. So I learned this song from a guy named Chuck Irose, who I played with in a band called Ampersand. But Dave did this one on his early records, and it's a great song from the folk boom. So we'll do this one. It's called Tell Old Bill. Tell old Bill when he gets home this morning. Tell old Bill when he gets home this evening. Tell old Bill when he gets home he better leave those downtown women alone this morning, this evening so soon. Bill left here about 8:30 this morning. Bill left here about 8:30 this evening. Bill left here about 8:30. Bill left by the old front gate this morning, this evening so soon. Where was Sal? Sal was home, she was baking bread this morning. Sal was home, she was baking bread this evening. Sal was home, she was baking bread. Heard the news that old Bill was dead this morning, this evening so soon. Walk it. said, oh no, that can't be so this morning. Oh no, that can't be so this evening. Oh no, that can't be so. My bill left here about an hour ago this morning, this evening so soon. But Bill home in a hurry-up wagon this morning. But Bill home in a hurry-up wagon this evening. But Bill home in a hurry-up wagon. Poor old Bill, his toes were dragging this morning, this evening so soon. So soon. Walk it again. Tell old Bill when he gets home this morning. Tell old Bill when he gets home this evening. Tell old Bill when he gets home he better leave those downtown women alone this morning, this evening so soon. So soon. So soon. So soon. So soon. Brian Melick, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Brian Melick.
Yes, sir.
You are a man of incredible knowledge.
Oh,
I would be
am I?
curious. You are, believe it or not. I know some people don't believe it's true, but I think it is. What do you have next on your list so I can make sure we're on the same thing?
Oh, Christmas in
I thought so. That's where we're going to go. All right, so my question for you is this. You are clearly a master percussionist. You are the Udu boy.
I am, yes.
Despite having a hobo drum kit.
Yes.
What you were doing there was really cool. I was digging it.
Oh, thank you very much.
I was discussing with some musician friends on the way here tonight that one of the miracles of working with Brian Melick is he can completely change things up and play this rhythm that you weren't expecting and yet not throw you off at all. That's a very special skill. I'm curious, I have a feeling that groove you were playing
Yes.
has a name and an origin, probably in some beautiful country and beautiful culture.
Yeah, it's very warm
And
there.
and if I'm correct, I would really love it if you would enlighten us about that, because
Oh, well,
it was
thanks.
just such a smoking little strut that
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, not to go into a lot of stuff, but I always feed off of who I'm accompanying strums, if it's a guitar player, or how they feel on the keyboard, if they're a pianist. And I was playing a Calypso, inspired rhythm, I guess you could say.
Nice.
Yeah. And what I love about it is it's a laid-back rhythm, and it is very relaxing. It's intoxicating rhythm, and it's most certainly from the Caribbean. So it's, beautiful people, beautiful music, beautiful food, beautiful scenery.
I like it.
Yeah. So we may have been in Saratoga Springs, and it may be mushy out with cold and everything, but there for a minute I was chilling there.
We're not going to do it tonight, but
I was
there's.
whipping my dreads back.
He was whipping his dreads back, that's for sure. Wow. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting late, isn't it? We're not going to do it tonight. The reason we're not going to do it this evening, it's not because we don't have time or anything, it's because I don't know how to play the song at all. But Mr. Van Ronk had a little Calypso thing, Chicken is Nice. So,
we have to.
And he also had a little island groove in a song that I learned from Peter, Paul, and Mary, if I'm allowed to say Peter, Paul, and Mary at Caffe Lena. That might be a little commercial, but their song, Bamboo, which I just love, Take a Stick of Bamboo, you throw it in the water. That was originally, they picked that up. It's an old song, but they picked up that from Dave, and that's got a little bit of a island thing to it as well. So I talked about the folk process, and I talked about Wednesday. Have I talked about Wednesday yet?
No, not at all.
So with the folk process, this song is from like 1992 or 1997 or something like that. I probably should have done the research. It's a new song compared to everything else we're doing by Steve Earle. And Steve Earle is a folkie, dyed-in-the-wool Greenwich Village folkie. That's where he lives. And he might have been a great big country star and a crazy rock and roller, but he's a dyed-in-the-wool folkie. And I thought about rewriting this song, particularly the opening verses, to be more on target with today. because they're about a very specific time in our country's history. And I thought, as a writer, I enjoy detail, and I enjoy how detail makes things more universal because it lets us place it in our lives. And I thought we can all do the job of having this song say to us now what we need to hear from it now, no matter what side of the fence you're on. There's perspectives in this song that we can think about. So I've only got one or two left. So we do hope you've enjoyed yourself this evening. We'd hope if you get a chance to visit caffelena.org /tips for donations, but also just caffelena.org to find out what else is coming up here with all the beautiful, beautiful music. We've got Goldstrom again tomorrow. I'll be back here hopefully on February 19th with my good buddy Kate McDonald, who's doing an album release party, and Brian and I will be on your computer screens for the beautiful Matt McCabe tribute. We're really glad that Rick's able to show Matt out in a deserving way, because, boy, I can't think anybody who deserves it more. Steve Earle. Christmas time in Washington, Democrats rest, getting into gear for 4 more years, things not getting worse. Republicans drank whiskey neat and thanked their lucky stars. Cannot seek another turn, there'll be no more FDRs. I sat home in Tennessee, staring at the screen, uneasy feeling in my chest, not knowing what it means. Come back, oh, what did Guthrie? Come back to us now. Tear your eyes from paradise and rise again somehow. You run into Jesus, maybe he can help you out. Come back, oh, what did Guthrie, to us now. Followed in your footsteps once back in my traveling days. Somewhere I failed to find your trail, and I'm stumbling through the haze. Killers on the highway now, and a man can't get around. So I sold my soul for wheels that roll, and I'm stuck here in this town. So come back, oh, what did Guthrie? Come back to us now. Tear your eyes from paradise and rise again somehow. You run into Jesus, maybe he can help you out. Come back to us, Guthrie, to us now. Foxes in the henhouse, cows out in the cold. Unions have been busted, the proud red banners torn. To listen to the radio, you'd think it all was well. But you and me and Cisco know it's going straight to hell. So come back, Emma Goldman, rise up, old Joe Hill. The barricades are going up, but they cannot stop our will. Come back to us, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We're marching into Selma as the bells of freedom ring. John Lewis. So come back, oh, what did Guthrie? Come back to us now. Tear your eyes from paradise and rise again somehow. You run into Jesus, maybe he can help you out. Come back, Woody Guthrie. Come back, Woody Guthrie. Come back, Woody Guthrie, to us now. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, thank dear God, Brian Melick.
Oh, thank you.
He's something. He'll be here again tomorrow with Gulfstream. It is just such a treat every time to play with Brian. Tin Can Alley so far has played, I think it's 5 gigs, and 3 of them have been at Caffe Lena. So we love the cafe. So be good to one another. If you haven't been singing along yet, you have to sing along now. It's the national anthem of folk music. You can't do a program of music about Greenwich Village in the 1940s and
Without this one.
yeah, without this one. I ordered I have a copy of this 45. I mentioned that I sold all my records. I kept 1 or 2 as sort of little special treats, and I have the 45 of this song. And this afternoon, when I was thinking about the performance this evening, I ordered a special picture frame designed specifically for 45 RPM records. So when that comes, I'll stick this one up on the wall. It is, as I said, the national anthem of folk music, The Weavers, 1950. My name is Michael Eck. This is Brian Melick. We are Tin Can Alley. Thank you so much. Have a great, great evening. Saturday night I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Me and my wife are parted. Think I'll take another stroll downtown. Sing it. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream. Sometimes I live in the country. Sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream. Stop your rambling. Stop your gambling. Stop staying out late at night. Go home to your wife and your family. Settle down by the fireside cry. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream. I love Irene, Lord knows I do. Love her till the seas run dry. If she turns her back on me, I'll take the morphine and die. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Sing with me, Brian. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. I'll see you in my dreams.